Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everything Electric podcast. This week's guest, Ben Sullins. Amazing bloke, long-time friend of the show. He's been on the show many times. He's appeared at our live events in the USA and Canada. Long-time Tesla driver, very interesting. He's he's a mathematician. He just understands how things are made and how things work. Very, very clever. He's more recently been driving a Rivian for a long time. I'm not going to spoil what you find out in the episode, but he has lived in San Diego for many years. He now lives in Madrid, in Spain, and he's having a very different experience of life. His family have moved there. His children are at school there. He's learning to speak Spanish. Already did speak quite a bit because San Diego is quite near Mexico. Don't know if you knew that, like next door. So there's a lot of Spanish stuff anyway going on in his life, but he's having an amazing time. And it was just really interesting to catch up with him. I mean, for a start, one of the things we dealt with was the huge Spanish and Portuguese blackout. The entire peninsula, the entire Iberian peninsula had a blackout for about 24 hours a few months ago. And immediately it was all blamed on renewables and solar. You will find out what really happened because they've now found out they know what happened. And it was just really lovely to catch up with him. He is hopefully going to be at our event in Farnborough in October, which would be fantastic to see him there. Well, the other thing I want to mention that's going to be happening at our event in Farnborough in the UK in October is the tests, the live tests that we'll be carrying out of the Zap Heap vehicles, the machines that the teams have made. We've already done it. So there's four teams have built 4 machines of bonkers abilities, all battery electric machines. But you won't think that was what it was. If you look at them, they just look absolutely barking mad. Really good fun stuff. So it's going to be an amazing live test in front of a live audience. Colin Furze will be there. We'll be really having great fun doing all that every afternoon at the live event in Farnborough in October. All the dates and all the information about getting tickets, all the links are in the show notes of this episode. So hopefully, if you're in the UK, we will see you there. In the meantime, that's it. Now, please do welcome Ben Sullins to the Everything Electric podcast. Okay, so can you explain? So the last time I saw you was in San Diego, but certainly the last time I've spoken to you, you were in the United States. You're now in Madrid in Spain.
Yes.
I mean, can you just give me a little bit of it? Because as soon as you told me, I just went, oh, how fantastic. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
What a brilliant thing to do. But is what the reasoning was to go there as opposed to maybe Paris, Berlin, Rome, I don't know, somewhere.
Right. Well, my wife and I came here 10 years ago and fell in love with it.
Right.
And one of my favorite American storytellers is Anthony Bourdain, who people listening don't know, who he has a great sort of travel cooking type show. And he had something that stuck with me. He said, if you go to Spain for any amount of time and you do not fall in love with the country, something is wrong with you.
Right.
And so we came here 10 years ago and just absolutely fell in love with the people and mostly I would say the culture and the way of life.
Yeah.
And here in Spain, it's very much like you're always about just spending as much time outside with friends and family, enjoying a meal, being in the park, just that's all you do. That's like your main motivation in life. The siesta time, for example, is like sort of not a real thing in Madrid, like, people, but restaurants and things do close.
Yeah.
Like this city, and Madrid is like a, big modern European city. It's not like some off in the country little town. So the way of life here was something that we fell in love with. And we started learning Spanish, living in San Diego for 20 years almost. Spanish is everywhere, right? We're on the border with Mexico.
Yeah.
So we've been raising our kids bilingual, learning Spanish back home. My wife and I have been learning it. And so we thought, well, what better way to really advance our learning and all that than just to go to the source of it. Right. Let's go to here. And then from here, we can see the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
We can travel. I can come see you. We can do all these fun things together. So that's kind of was the motivation, was the culture, the experience. And, one big thing, maybe it's a little bit mushy, but to give our kids a sense of how big the world can be, how, being in America, it's very insular, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, you're sort of raised a certain way and everybody believes in the same thing, which is work to live. You know what I mean? It's not like, or I'm sorry, live to work. Like that's the only reason to be alive is to make money.
Yeah.
And that is If we had one national religion in the U.S., that would be it for sure.
Yeah.
And life doesn't have to be that way. And you would know far better than I, but from everyone I've talked to, Spain is one of those cultures or one of those European countries that absolutely embraces the life as a priority over making money and working as a priority. Yeah. So we wanted to bring our kids here for some amount of time and learn the language and all that. So lots of reasons packed in there. But
what age are you've got two children, haven't you? What age are they?
Yeah, 5 years and 10 years.
Right. Okay. So I mean, and they're both at school then, or they have been both at school, or will be both at school in Spain.
Yeah, they'll be regular public school, but now a lot of schools here are bilingual, so they've been learning English. Back home, my older son is in a bilingual program there as well. Right. So it's fully Spanish immersion. Half of his day is in Spanish back home. So here it'll be the same thing.
Isn't it annoying that, I mean, because I know this from personal experience when I was 12, spending a long time in Germany. I know I spoke German there simply because I've been told by people I've met that I met then. And I can't speak German now, but you pick it up. You pick it up so fast. So your kids will be, I'm sure, very fluent, but, very quickly.
Yeah. Exactly. So, we think, I mean, maybe this is weird of us, but we think speaking multiple languages is a good thing.
Yeah.
And so
how dare you?
I know. Yeah. It's very un-American of us.
Yeah.
I know. But so we thought that's a huge one. And so let's do that. And what better place to do it than here,
Yeah. No, really exciting. I mean, the one thing that you'll know about then from firsthand, because that was a story, it was a few weeks ago now from when we're recording this, but the massive, I mean, it was a pretty major incident, the massive blackout of Spain and Portugal was like, I sort of read it and I went, did that really happen? It just sounds, that's too big. It must be one part of Spain or one part of Portugal, but it was pretty much was it the whole country? It just seemed crazy.
It was the whole peninsula, Wow. So including Portugal and I think parts of southern France or somewhere that touch, kind of on the border there.
Right.
Yeah, I did a video looking at it initially because, all the typical talking heads came out saying solar panels were to blame. Or Robert plugged his EV in or something and that just
my fault.
Tripped. Yeah, whatever. So something happened. And like I said, always, like a lot of these things is always for me has been, well, let's wait and see until we have actual facts.
Yeah.
And which is not at all that's not the incentives for how the news or media work in general. So a lot of people said that. I did a video looking at it going, doesn't seem like that's the answer. And now we actually do have the answers that there was a gas peaker plant down in southern Spain that failed. And that created a voltage disruption. But 50 million people without power, something like 10 hours. So it wasn't like a very prolonged, but a pretty shocking thing.
Yeah.
I think some people did, unfortunately perish because of their medical equipment didn't work or something like that. Wow. So it wasn't just an inconvenience, but of everyone, all my friends that are here, it's kind of funny because of all the places in the world to be without power, Spain was has to be, everyone just went outside and just had a beer and sang and it was totally, you see the videos of it online. There was, some people it had a rougher go of it, but mostly it seemed pretty relaxed.
But I mean, what's fascinating is, and that's so often the case, isn't it? I mean, the sudden spike in prices of electricity in the UK for a while was entirely blamed on all the silly wind turbines and solar panels. And it was 110% due to gas. It was after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the price went off the scale. And so everything was to do with the price of gas. Well, that is nothing to do with renewables. It's to do with the gas peaker plant that didn't work, which is...
Yeah. No, I mean, it's always like people want to take the thing that so whatever the talking point is, whatever the narrative is, and then use any shred of evidence over here and spin it into this story. Like I just posted a video an hour ago now, morning back home in San Diego, but it's about basically there was a big there were a bunch of fires in 2007 in San Diego that led to, and the reason the fires happened were because of the negligence of the utility companies not maintaining their power lines. And it's hot, it's dry, it's windy, all bad conditions for, and then a power line gets knocked over and bang, now, 1 million acres burned, some insane amount of land. And after that, the Utilities Commission in California said, because what they wanted to do was pass on the costs, the lawsuit that they got convicted of. They wanted to pass those costs on to the ratepayers, the people paying electricity. Yeah. And the CPUC said, no, you cannot do that. You have to pay it, the company, shareholders, owners of this company. And so they said, okay, fine. But now what we're going to do is we're going to throw on a charge later to people's bills after this payment's done, increasing the cost of delivering electricity.
Right.
Because now, guess what? We have to maintain those telephone poles or those power lines because otherwise we're going to get sued. So electricity prices rise and rise and rise. Right. And what do people do? They want to blame solar and whatever else. Yeah. But really, it has everything to do with maintaining the stuff, which you're supposed to do anyways.
Yeah.
You know, and if the company was really struggling, I think it would be fine. You could make arguments of like, but no, they're having record profits year on year, and raising rates while saying, oh, it's this new requirement. You're like, no, none of that is true. Yeah. So it's like the typical media thing, right? So Spain had the blackout. Story was solar panels and whatever. Didn't have enough grid inertia. I learned a lot about.
Yes.
Yeah. None of that was true.
Right.
Now, to be fair to the people in Spain or the people that run the network here, they should have more batteries. Is the answer from everybody I know. That's really why it was a peninsula wide problem. Is because do they have the most? You might know more than me. I think Spain's percentage of renewables on the grid is extremely
very high. I mean, in Portugal is even higher. So they're both very high. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the number one in Europe, but it's up there.
It's up there,
the challenge I've learned from all my research here with this is that when you have that, because of the intermittent nature of it and how the grid operates like at a specific frequency, and if it deviates even for a split second, this is what happens. You have these massive. Yeah. So the way you solve that is you have giant batteries and they absorb that blow and they can create the inertia and keep it humming. You know. Which makes total sense. So, if there's one criticism I think that's fair of what happened in Spain, it seems to be that, yes, they're pushing really hard into renewables. That's all good. We want to do that. There's probably laws that say you have to do that, but they're missing the problem, the fragility problem. They're not creating the resiliency they need in order to make it through any of those disruptions.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly I know about this mainly from Australia, but it is that thing where, if you just do some rudimentary mathematics about, how much energy we use and how much we produce and the intermittency of, it's terrifying. You think, well, we need a 400,000 million petawatt hour battery so we can run the country for 3 months nonstop on battery, and you absolutely don't. And what they've learned in Australia quite a few years ago now is sometimes they would realize after the event that they would have had a power cut. But the batteries kicked in so fast, it didn't even register as a problem. So, and then they go, why did the battery kick in? And they go, I don't know. Let's have a look. Oh, that power station failed. Exactly the same situation that happened in Spain. Happened in South Australia and Victoria. I don't know. We're talking maybe 6-7 years ago.
I remember.
And they really didn't know about it until they looked at it afterwards. There was no problem at all. There was no, the battery coped. That was the first huge Tesla battery. But it doesn't need to be that big because what it's doing, it's got to deliver an enormous amount of power quite quickly, but it doesn't have to do it for 10 hours. It has to do it for 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe at the most, which they're all.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a part of the whole system, right? Yeah. And it's a key part, but it's not the only part.
No.
So, I'm with you. I think that, so it looks like in Spain, that's sort of what happened was they need more batteries.
Yeah.
Now it hadn't the reason that there was a blackout had nothing to do with renewables at all.
Yeah.
But definitely because they don't have enough battery or backup systems like this, it seems like that, made it worse.
Yeah. So now, because I first came across you very much connected with Tesla, very much connected with electric cars. And now, I mean, if you're in the mid, have you got a car in Madrid?
Yeah, no, I do not.
No,
I do not. It feels insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I went from suburban, large home, cul-de-sac, which is like at the end of a street where there's no, and then, swimming pool, like all the stuff that you would imagine, like typical American type setup, 2 cars, all this great stuff, sold the cars. Right. And now we're living here in the middle of the city, where with no, I mean, public transportation, we use it every day almost. Still haven't taken a bus yet. I just take the metro everywhere. Right. It just seems easier and faster. But yeah, we walk. I mean, you would know, right? Like Europe is seemingly designed correctly.
Yeah. Well, not all of it, but bits of it are. Madrid is. Yeah, it's amazing.
So like where I live in the city center, downstairs, okay, on my block are 4 grocery stores.
Right.
Right. And a pharmacy and a fruit store and
Yeah.
probably 6 restaurants. And just so, I mean, even like I needed a new TV for that. So there's an appliance store across the street. I just go there, get the TV. So like I don't need a car at all.
No.
I do play golf, which is the only time where I have to I need a car because it's just not a train that goes to the golf station, or I'm sorry, not a train station at the golf course.
Just golf course, yeah.
But point being, so I don't need one. I am going on a road trip soon though, and I'm probably going to rent one.
Right.
I've had actually a hard time finding electric options. It's kind of weird. I thought they would be plentiful, but car rental places, it's not really. Like I have to click 15 times to find the electric cars, and it's like just a Fiat 500e is all they have. Yeah. That's like basically it.
That is strange because that is not universal. I think it would depend which country you're in Europe. But I mean, certainly, for instance, in Norway, you'd have to do exactly the same thing to try and find a gas car.
Yeah, right.
It'd be really difficult. It's all electric. But I know in Australia, I mean, I've rented electric cars there without any hassle. The first 2 or 3 that come up, one would be a super economy little petrol car.
Yeah.
And the next one is a Tesla Model 3. It's like, okay,
there you go.
I'll have that, whatever. But but that is so interesting, isn't it? Because that whole, the movement in Paris, I don't know if you're aware of what's been going on in Paris, but it's genuinely extraordinary. So I lived in Paris quite a lot, many years ago when I was young. And it was a terrifying, and I cycled a lot in London, and cycling in London was pretty challenging. Cycling in Paris was lethal. It was really terrifying because the drive, it was so many cars and it was so congested and they were such crazy drivers. It was just terrifying on a bicycle. So I kind of gave up. You go to Paris now, it's mainly bicycles. It's mainly walking. The people who live on a particular street will have a referendum, if you like, and they go, no, we don't want cars on the street anymore. So they close it. So it's like locally decided that all the shops that said, if we stop cars, we'll lose all the business, are doing so much more business than they ever did when they had cars.
Right.
All those things. So and I love the fact that I'm sure there's lots of Parisians, I'm sure will correct me on this, but the mayor of Paris was really having a lot of kickback from the press, from the car industry, from the oil industry, from all manner of people before the election. So she put in place a lot of the restrictions on cars in the middle of Paris. And there was a local election for the mayor, and she won by a much bigger majority the second time. Because actually, if you live in Paris and you walk out of your door and it smells quite nice and it's quiet and your kids are safe, it's a very different experience, And I was there last year for the first time in years, and I could not believe my eyes. The Faubourg Saint-Honoré, a road I remember cycling down that was just living hell on a bicycle. There's no cars on it. It's just bikes and people walking, and it's quiet, and you can hear bird song. It's just really,
that's amazing. It reminds me, I've been to the Netherlands once, and that's like their main mode of transportation, right? Yeah. You don't need a bike lane, you need a car lane, because everybody's on bikes.
Everybody's on the bikes.
The car has to have a special lane because it's rare to have a car come by. Yeah. No, I love that. Biking here in Madrid, it doesn't seem to be a super common thing.
I don't remember seeing it when I was
But where I'm at, the roads are pretty small and narrow, so I mean, I guess I'm less worried. Like the cars aren't going very fast. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's a couple big streets that kind of go through the city, but otherwise it's just small little. So yeah, a bike is a good idea for some of the longer things. I've quickly adjusted to this madrileño lifestyle where like if it's more than a 10 minutes walk, I'm just not going.
Right.
I cannot be bought. No. Are you kidding me? Something that's that far, there's had to be one closer. There has to be, whatever it is, there has to be one closer. So it's been a really big adjustment these past, 6-7 weeks.
But then where you've been living in the US is, I've been there. It can be quite warm in summer.
Oh yeah.
What have you had any because I know Spain has had a lot of really high temperatures recently. Has it been very hot there, or have you been?
It's been. The first few weeks were basically you stayed inside. Right. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, where it regularly reaches 110 degrees. Yeah. So what is that, like 40 Celsius or something like that? Yeah. Do you guys have Celsius? Or
Fahrenheit? We do Celsius here. Yeah.
Celsius. Okay. Yeah. So for here, my first few weeks were in the high 30s.
Right.
I think it may have hit 40, 41, one or two of the days. So it was very, very hot. So back up for Americans listening, that's like 105, 107 degrees, somewhere around there. But yeah, it was very hot. But the past few weeks have been fantastic.
Right.
We tried to escape the heat. We went down south for a week down to Malaga. Loved it.
Right.
Made us miss San Diego even more because
Right.
It's like
A bit of sea.
we've just got some of the best beaches, and we have waves to surf, and the Mexican food is it's real Mexican. It's right there. So so that, and then we're going on this road trip up to the north, up to San Sebastian in the Basque Country. And that's where we're going to try to see some more of that too. And hopefully it's a little bit cooler, but it hasn't been too bad. I mean, there's so much shade and so much trees. Like, that's what I mean by, like, they designed the city perfectly well. Yeah. I mean, you can totally get by even when it's 40 degrees Celsius out. It's not, that bad.
Yeah.
Unless you have to be working or doing something physical, you're just hanging out. It's not bad, I don't think.
Yeah, I always remember that the first time I was in Australia, and it was very high temperatures. It was in the 40s, and we were driving in an old an air conditioned car, which the air conditioning just about worked, and we had to stop like in a country lane where there was roadworks, and there was guys digging holes in the road, and I suddenly went, oh yeah, it's quite nice if you're in an air conditioned car,
right?
If you're digging a hole in the road, and they had no shade, there was no trees around. I mean, God, that is tough,
brutal.
It's very
brutal.
Tough. But I was going to say, one of the things I thought was, you've lived by the sea for many years, and now you're living in a city that, I mean, it's not the furthest city from the sea in Europe, but it's pretty close. It's a long way to the sea, isn't it, to the coast?
It's about, I think, a 4-hour drive or more or less, either way. So it's not close at all.
No.
That's probably the one big thing we miss from back home. That and spicy food, which just I think there's a law against it. Honestly, I think Spain has a law against spicy food.
I don't know if I'm sure you've probably done this, but we had very good friends that lived in Madrid for a long time, and we went to visit them. They were actually Australians, but they were they lived in Madrid for a few years. And we went out on a ramble. I don't even know what you call it. I've forgotten all the words. But in the evening, we'd go to one place and eat a little bit of stuff and have a drink.
Yeah, tapas.
Tapas. Yeah. So we do that tapas. Yeah. The thing I clearly remember is we went to one where they made lovely fried potatoes and a little egg thing. Mm-hmm. And that was run by communists, and it had communist hammer and sickle flags, and it had clenched, all about
like honest to God,
proper full-on communist party,
not like a pejorative, like an actual.
They were members and active members of the communist. But then you walked like 200 meters around the corner, and there was fish and chips. It was battered fish and fried potato fries, and that was run by actual fascists. So people who supported Franco, and you go, and I went, oh, that's quite extreme, But this was, I'm trying to think, this is probably 35 years ago, so maybe that's faded out now. But I mean, both places were crowded with a wide variety of young people who clearly didn't give a flying hoot about any of it.
They don't care at all about
if the fish is good, I'll eat the fascist fish.
It's a hard, I mean, that gets into the broader point. There is the art versus the artist kind of discussion, which I know a lot of people have struggled with Tesla and Elon Musk. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, I still look at it like I think Tesla makes great products.
Amazing cars.
Objectively. I do think that, I mean, I've been in a lot of BYDs since I've been here, and Ubers and things, and I am completely blown away. I thought BYDs were just like cheap little Toyotas.
No.
And maybe they used to be. I don't know.
They did used to be.
But now, I mean, the Seal I ride a lot in, and I'm just like, this thing is phenomenal. And how much is this? And then what's the new one, the cheap one, the Dolphin Surf or something?
Dolphin Surf, yes.
The tiny little guy?
Yeah.
I mean, if we end up staying here long term, I'd probably buy one of them. I mean, what's it, like 10, 11,000 euros or something? I mean, it's insane.
We tested it a few weeks ago. Really good little car. I mean, really. Really
but separating those two, right? I mean, it's tough. Like back home, I mean, when Elon was doing I guess he's not doing as much political stuff anymore. I really don't follow him very much. I deleted my Twitter account in 2020 or 2019. I mean, years before any of this stuff happened. But I've always been a fan of their products. I mean, their products are really good. Maybe the point of the BYD thing was that, like, the Tesla product line in terms of the cars do seem a bit aging right now, a little bit long in the tooth. Like, there's really not much. I know they just did a Model Y refresh and a Model X, but I mean, it's the same car. I mean, they tend to do that. They do a refresh, and I go, it costs the same, and it goes just as far. Like, okay, sure, I guess it's better. I don't know. It doesn't seem that big of a difference, which is actually a good case for buying a used one, right? Because if the new one is basically the same as the used one, you'll save 40% on it. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
There's someone we know here who's bought a Model S that had done,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could remember, because the statistics are amazing. I think it's done about 70,000 miles. It cost them £5,000, which is,
Oh,
say,
wow.
about $9,000.
Yeah.
It's in really good condition. They had to have something replaced, not the battery. I mean, the battery is absolutely fine. I can't remember what it was. Maybe some steering stuff, which cost a couple of £1,000s. They've now got this car with 250, and it's old enough to have free supercharging.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he just cannot believe it. He keeps going to supercharge. He doesn't charge it at home. It's a stupid waste of money.
Yeah. Why would you?
He only goes to supercharge and charges it there. And
Yeah.
that, when you think, well, that's so incredible that's possible.
Yeah.
And we now know for certain everyone talked about the batteries years ago. That battery will outlast the car by probably 100,000 miles. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had it. And, in the cases when you do see people having to replace them, it seems there's sort of a specific reason why something happened or something. Yeah. I mean, which, hey, when you make $1 million of anything, you're going to have some error rate. You know, I mean, that's why I worked in big data and tech for, my whole career.
Right.
And that was the whole thing, right? When you're Google and you have 10 million hard drives to index the internet, even a 0.005% error rate means you're going to have some of these hard drives failing. So you have to build a system so it's the same kind of thing, right? Like when you make enough of a thing, you're going to have flaws that happen. If it was a real problem, I think it would be, more mainstream and less like on the fringe, the Daily Mail type people that are talking about it or whatever. Yeah.
Why does the whole world know about the Daily Mail? I grew up.
That's right.
It's fine.
I always get confused because it's like I know I ask you and Dan all the time. I'm like, hey, so is this because there's like the Telegraph, and the Daily Mail, and I'm like, which one of these is the more like kind of non-truthful?
There was
one?
a time when the Telegraph was the voice of, the majority centrist conservative. And it's often very well written. They have very good journalists. It's sort of become a little bit more reactionary, and I don't.
And the Guardian too. The Guardian, is that a British?
The Guardian would be by British standards sort of centre left, but definitely left wing.
Okay, got it. Yeah, but that's another
pro the Labour Party. It's the only newspaper that is. All the other papers are they're either centre right or fanatically screaming.
Oh my gosh! The media is such a weird.
Well,
landscape
our press is mainly owned by multi-billionaires who don't live in the UK and don't pay tax. So that's just one of those things that's just happened.
Yeah.
But tell what is the? I mean, just sticking with Tesla, but in Spain, because we've driven around Spain in a Tesla. There's supercharger network that was absolutely fine. We used it without any trouble. But what's the take up like in Spain? I can't really remember. I know I saw some there, but it wasn't.
Number of Teslas? Yeah. It's pretty small.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I see a lot of EVs roaming around.
Right.
Not a lot of Tesla. And I mean, now granted, I come from a city that has a tremendous, every other car is a Tesla basically back in San Diego. So my perception is a little bit maybe different, but I don't see, in fact, when I see one now, it stands out to me.
Right.
I'm sort of like, oh, whoa, look,
there's a Tesla.
There's a Tesla. Yeah. Whereas if you ask me for like a Renault or something, it's like, no, that's every other car.
Yes.
Or, a Fiat or something like these European brands.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting seeing how many EVs there are.
So right. Because that's
especially ones that I've never even heard of, companies where I'm like, what was one I was looking at? Airway, something. I'm like,
Huawei.
Chinese.
Huawei, yes, who are a phone company. It's like that is like the Apple car. They actually
like, what is this? Like, I'm going. This is. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, wow, it's brilliant. On the other hand, it just makes me mad about, the thing. Looking at the latest legislation in the U.S. trying to wreck the transition is the way I see that whole thing with cutting the EV credits, cutting the solar credits and all these things in the US, all it's going to do is hurt the US automakers.
Yes.
That's all it's going to do. If you go anywhere else in the world, EVs are dominant.
Absolutely.
And they are just, and so, and there's so many big places that don't make cars or make very little cars. So they import everything. So they don't care.
Yeah.
They're not going to put a tariff on something that they have to import, So I look at that and I go, that makes me frustrated because of how much potential there is. The U.S. automotive industry is phenomenal.
Yes.
These guys are tremendous at doing what they do, and the legislation they're trying to hold them back is kind of how I see it. So, and that has been apparent to me walking around here, just like, all these car companies that don't even exist in the US,
Yeah.
and they're making these great products. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, man, we need more of this. We
Yeah.
need more innovation, because usually that's the one thing I would hold my hat on, is that America's, if we're good at one thing, it's innovating on things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're not going to beat China on the cost of manufacturing a thing.
You'll
there's just
come up with it in the first place, and it'll be. I mean, well, Tesla's such a good example of that, but there's plenty of other ones where that, and historically, an enormous history of that incredible innovation in the United States. Extraordinary.
Yeah. So that to me is when I look around here, that's the biggest kind of aha moment. It's just like, man, it makes me angry, because I'm like, God, how much better could these cars be that we have if we didn't have these politicians trying to get in the way?
Yes. And I mean, I don't know if you saw Jim Farley, CEO of Ford,
Ford,
at a sort of innovation event somewhere famous in America, and I can't remember where it was. But I mean, I've interviewed him, and he's remarkably honest for a multinational corporation CEO. He's like, is he allowed to say that? And it was really interesting. One of the things, when I talked to him, one of the things that he spoke about Chinese EVs being 10 years ahead of anything in America, and all that stuff, and their battery technology, the innovation around the software, and he and I think their CTO bought two Chinese
Xiaomi,
imported them personally,
and
then drove them, and then probably tore them to bits and had a look how they were made, whatever. But then he also said, so he said all that, and then he also said he went to their skunk works in Los Angeles and went round that, and it was amazing. And he wasn't even allowed in, but they let him in. And I almost didn't notice him talking about that. I was just thinking, there's no way they're going to let him say the stuff about Chinese cars. So then his people got in touch and said, would you mind removing the bit about the skunk works, because we don't even acknowledge it exists. Everything else was fine. It's extraordinary. But he has been very vocal about how the tariffs are making the lives of the people who run big car companies increasingly difficult, if not impossible. Because
I mean, and it's we only have to point back to Trump's last administration for data on this. I mean, this is not like science fiction here. We're not making things up and coming up with, this isn't economic theory, right? Look back to, because in the first Trump administration, he put, I believe it was a 25% tariff on Chinese made aluminum and steel.
Right.
And that same year, GM, I think, laid off over 14,000 people and closed 5 factories because of that.
Yeah.
And then Ford, I believe, lost over $1 billion in revenue or profit, I believe, because of the tariffs. And it's not like they were mincing words. They said, because of this is what happened. And so, I mean, and that was only 5 years ago or something, whenever that, 6 years ago. So you're looking at it going, guys, this isn't, we don't have to look too hard here. A guy like me that just looks at numbers, it doesn't think too hard, and just I could just point at the numbers and go, look what they say. Yeah. And so, it's really frustrating. And now the biggest deal with that stuff, I believe, is in fact because there was, Trump made a deal with the UK, I believe, about importing cars.
Yeah.
And it was an incredibly low tariff. I forget, like 10, 15% or something like that. Meanwhile, the US automakers, which import steel and aluminum from all these other places, do not get any reprieve. And so they're looking at it going, guys, you're tariffing the US companies more than you are the UK ones.
So,
and now there's the Japan deal. I haven't looked at it. It just happened, but it's the same deal. So I completely get this beef that the US auto industry has with the administration going, what the hell? Like, I thought the idea was to help us and look at what you're doing. You're killing, no more taxes or tariffs on them, but we still have to deal with it because there's one company in Mexico that attaches the seats or something. It's and by the way, this supply chain going from US, Canada, Mexico has been alive for 70 years. Yeah. It's not new. So to me,
soon you'll be able to, you might be able to buy an Aston Martin cheaper than an F-150.
Yes. I will take that deal. I will take that
I think
deal.
It would do very well.
I would, I want the Rolls-Royce Spectre or whatever, right? Yeah.
But I mean, I've got to tell you, because I've seen a video done recently about the robotaxi, and I'd like to talk about that, but I've just got to tell you, I went into the showroom, there's one of the showrooms in London, when the robotaxi was first launched. And they had one in the showroom, and I had a look at it, and they'd invited me to go along, and it was all fine. And I looked at it, and kind of, I'm trying to remain completely neutral on the concept of self-driving cars, the whole notion of it. But when I saw that car, I just went, if that had a steering wheel, and it was the Tesla Model 2,
the $25,000,
$25,000, maybe 3-seater or maybe compact.
Whatever.
It's a compact car. It would be amazing. And everybody would be going bananas about it. And the order books would be exploding. They would be so popular. And you've already got the charging network. And it's a car. It only needs to do a couple of 100 miles. It doesn't need long range because you can charge it so quickly and so easily. All that stuff. But let's put that to one side because you've got an interesting take on it. So just for the people who don't know, the robotaxi is on the road, available for hire in Austin. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Is that the only place it is?
Currently, yeah. There's a small area in Austin, and Elon says a lot of things on earnings calls, but for now, that's the reality. It does exist with a safety driver in the front seat. So
does it have a steering wheel now?
So the robotaxi, the actual robotaxi is just a Model Y. It's not actually a different car.
It's not a different car, right? So the car I saw was
Cybercab or whatever thing that they're promising in the future, which I do think that would be really cool. Yeah. Again, add a steering wheel. Yeah. It doesn't have a charging port. The new, I'm like, just give me a damn charging port. Like that seems silly.
How do you charge it if it doesn't have a charging port?
It's wireless charging. Charging. So because it's completely automated, right? Yeah. So it'll have a thing.
Place to park and it will just charge.
Yeah. But what actually exists is Model Ys that are designated as robotaxis, and you can hail them with the Tesla app and then get in one. But there is a Tesla safety, not driver.
Well,
I guess
there's a physical human being in the
There's a human being not in the driver's seat though, in the passenger seat.
Right.
And they can push a button if things are going wrong, and things are going wrong. It's very early days of that. But the video that I did on it, my take, because I'm a numbers guy, was more asking the question or trying to explore the idea of, do the economics of a robotaxi like this work?
Right.
I think I could have done a better job diving deeper, but Uber and these companies don't actually release a ton of data about the cost of the driver and commercial insurance costs and the cost of the vehicles. Over here, I've noticed that a lot of the Ubers are owned by Uber themselves, and the people driving them are sort of like renting them for the week or something like that. So quite different than you owning your own car and driving it out, right? Yeah. So the net of it is, though, that just because you remove the driver from the equation doesn't mean that you can have a drop in the actual price a consumer pays by 80% or anything. Right. Like the most you could theoretically get is maybe a 50% reduction in price, which is significant. Right. It is.
A 5.0 or a 1.5? A 5.0.
5.0.
5.0. That's a difference. Yeah.
But that is assuming that the car costs $0 to Tesla, meaning a customer provides the car.
Right.
Because there's capital costs associated with making the thing. Right now, Tesla owns all of them.
Yeah.
So if they're going to continue on that, there is, even though they obviously pay less for it than the consumer, there is a cost associated with the vehicle making it. Then you have to deal with maintenance. It will need tires. It will need, cleaning, repairs if it gets into an accident, or let's say someone pukes in the back of it because they're drunk, whatever. These things
happen.
There's real life meets theoretical, So the point is that right now, all of those things, when you take out the driver, it's not just the person moving the wheel and pushing the pedals. There's a lot more that goes into, what that cost absorbs. Yeah. And so you're not going to actually recoup all of the cost of having a driver. You're going to have to add back in all these other things that the driver currently does. Yeah. And so then that hurts the equation even more. And so, if we look at the economics of it, I mean, it's sort of, best guess, but I think you could probably knock off realistically 30% of what you currently pay. And then, so that's good. That's still a lot cheaper. But then you have to ask the question about, do people trust it? And is that a significant enough drop in price for them to go, oh, well, I'm definitely doing that one.
Yeah.
If you're going to take a taxi and it's, $20 and you're going to take an Uber and it's $21, but the Uber is going to be a much better experience. Yeah. Would you pay for that? Yeah, probably. It's close enough, right? Yeah. So this is where I think you get into the behavioral economic side of it, which to me is one of the most fascinating, areas to study, is how we as people make decisions based on money and prices and things. And so that was basically the question. Is right now it doesn't seem like, to me anyways, my opinion as a wannabe economist would be that we don't have enough room there to make a significant price reduction that people would just overwhelmingly adopt it. Right. That people do not trust self-driving cars from all the survey data I've seen. It'll be a long time until they do. And if the price reduction was like 90%, I think you could get there a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm very interested in, to see how this goes. Not like whether or not a car can do this. I mean, I saw a video of you, I don't know, 15 years ago at Heathrow, taking one from the car park over to the thing, right? The little laser gun. I mean, so these have existed in some fashion. Will people trust it, and will it be cheap enough for them to choose it? I think those are the biggest questions in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, more recent than that, I mean, that was another episode we did, and I was blown away by it, was a Nissan Leaf, fully autonomous on busy London streets, buses, kids crossing the road, bicycles, pets, everything you could throw at it. And then, round British roundabouts, fairly challenging even for British people. And then a highway. And it did all that in about a 15, 20 mile drive, and then came back to the base, and they immediately plugged it in. And I went, well, we haven't been that far. Even for an old Nissan Leaf, we haven't been that far. But what was in the back, and this is what will have changed, I know, was what looked to me like 5 or 6 old school desktop computers, the big box that sat under your desk and hummed. The range on the Nissan Leaf was reduced by about 45 miles, which it didn't have that much range to start with. So it used an enormous amount of energy for all the computing. Now that has obviously shrunk down phenomenally since.
Yes. That will be your phone size.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, what I have to say, it was extraordinarily aware of its surroundings, including, I had it was for press people, so they had a screen, and that was highlighting all the potential hazards.
Right.
Well, one of them it was going like that, it was flickering, and I went, I can't see anything. If I was driving, I can't, there's nothing there. And then I went, there's a kid running along, and his mum is waving. So, and I went, and it was a long way away. So like a kid, say a child of about 5, sort of untethered child, basically. And it was fine. It was on the sidewalk. It wasn't going to do anything. I've just used the word sidewalk without thinking. Pavement.
Oh,
that's what we call it.
There we go.
I've spent too much time in America. Anyway, all that aside, I still found it fairly terrifying. And there was a driver with me. I mean, he didn't touch the steering wheel. It was really impressive. But I mean, what about, have you been in a Waymo in San Francisco? I mean, I've met quite a few people who have, and they seem to be very confident about those. I mean, they were very...
I have a lot of friends that have. I mean, I'm from Arizona, so that's where they sort of first launched in Chandler.
Oh, that's right.
And I mean, it seems to be very good. And to me, that's where it's interesting, because you look at the data and you go, oh, okay. So it seems like to me, based on my assessment, that the technology is approaching like a confidence level that I think we can agree it's safe. Granted, there's a lot that comes along with launching a new city. It's not like you just flip it on. I feel like there was this idea years ago that, a Tesla Model S from 2016, in 2019, you'd get a software update and bang, it would just work anywhere. You could drop it in Berlin, or you could drop it in Beijing, and it would just be fine. It would figure it all out. No, that's never. No. I think everything is very regional, and it's going to be very specific, right? Because how the rules of the road work in different countries. Like you said, roundabouts are a good example. We don't have a lot of them in the U.S. And as I'm learning here in Spain, how you navigate them varies. Like we have roundabouts here with stoplights in them.
Yes.
Okay, that's fast. There's roads here that if you want to turn left, first you have to exit the road you're on to the right.
Yes.
And you have to go in this little half circle and then stop. And then eventually you'll be able to go left.
Go to the left. Yeah.
Yeah. So if your car's, learned all how to drive in California, that would be completely foreign as to what the hell is what. Yeah. None of that makes sense. Right. So I think that it's going to be a long road. I think along the way, though, there's a huge opportunity for advancements in safety and even just cost. I mean, the best example probably is that thing at Heathrow that takes you from the car park over to the terminal. Yeah. Because you don't necessarily need the most advanced technology in the world to have a little bus that drives around university or something.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that can be pre-programmed.
Yeah.
It can have all the sensors in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and it can run 24 hours a day, whatever. So I think that there's a lot of fruit that we'll be able to bear along the way. But getting to that full blown thing, I think is far off. But the bigger question to me isn't a technical one; it's a human one.
Yes.
Will it be cheap enough, and will people trust it? That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, then it doesn't matter how good the piece of technology is. You know what I mean?
But I mean, it's also quite interesting because I've just remembered that like one of the really passionate TED Talks I saw probably 10 years ago. I think it was a German guy, but he had a very good friend of his was killed by a drunk driver or what, it was definitely a serious motor accident caused by human error, not technical failure. And he was so upset about it that he was one of the initial people to wanted to devise autonomous driving because it was safer. So that was the drive. It's safer that human beings fail and we make mistakes and we screw up and we have crashes. But then it sort of transmogrified, if you like, over the years into we don't need to have any people that we have to pay. That seemed to be the motivation. Let's get rid of the people, which seems to be quite a popular concept in Silicon Valley and has become even more toxic in the last few years. But and in a sense, I quite like getting in a taxi with someone. I have a chat with them. Sometimes they tell me to shut up, but often you'll have a little conversation with them. Passes the time.
I practice my Spanish with all of you guys.
That's good. Yeah.
That's it.
But so I'm not sure where that sits now. Like
what's the motivation?
What the motivation? Because if it's safety, and I believe, a million completely autonomous cars would probably be safer over 1,000 miles than a million human beings. One of them is going to drive off a cliff or drive into a kid or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think, that goes back to the first thing we talked about. If there's one thing in the US that we all believe in, it's making money.
Yes.
And so I think like anything like all progress must be in the pursuit of greater wealth in the US. Like if you're doing something, not to say this is right. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying, but that is how it is.
It's also not altogether wrong because you can have tremendous technological advances and success because the motivation is pulling you forward because you can make lots of money. I mean, I think.
I mean, if you look at renewables and a big to me, whenever I talk to somebody about climate change or anything like that, it's always to me, I try to frame it in that light.
Yeah.
Of like, not sure. It'll save the planet, carbon emissions, blah, blah, blah. Yes, we all know that, but I'm not going to beat that dead horse. We've talked through that.
Yeah.
The bigger thing is you're going to save money and you're going to have less blackouts.
Yeah.
Because that is something that's more, I feel like when you have these big, difficult concepts like a climate change or one of these things, if you can bring it home to people in a way that's relatable, all of a sudden the conversation just shifts and everyone wants to, breathe cleaner air and have better water and things like that, So to me, I think that there is some good in that. The thought of just making money to be greedy isn't really the full story, right? It's like you make more money, but along the way you can do it in ways that have many other benefits as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah, no, it is fair. I mean, I think you're right that that I initially started wanting to explore this and talk about this topic of, like, for instance, electric ground transport from the point of view of the technology. But it quite rapidly changed to, this is the problems now with electric vehicles are, I would say, entirely psychological. They're not technological. The technology works. It's like, it's not even that interesting. You drive along and when you need to put some more electricity in your battery, you stop and you charge it. Mm-hmm. What is there to worry about?
Right.
We've just driven. We drove down to Italy a few weeks ago. The charging, I can't tell you how low it came in the list of worries, anxieties, and priorities.
Right.
Where's the nearest restroom, to use an American?
Yes.
That's number one. That's the alarm.
Yes.
I'm an old man. I need to get out quickly. The second was, where can I get a coffee, a baguette? What about we're going to buy some cheese for the people we're going to see? And then let's stop for lunch. We're tired.
Yeah.
Oh, charging. It's like, whatever. It's like,
I'm still wondering. One thing so the electric grid here is different than the US in a lot of ways, but one key way is the voltage, right? Here you have 220 volts as the standard, like all around the room in me. And I was trying to sort out why that is. Why in the US do we only have 110 or 120? And my guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, or feel free to slap me in the comments or something, but it seems like Edison, I believe, was the one that created the whole like electricity in your house type system.
Yes.
Like the light bulb and all that stuff. So we're talking, and I don't think Europe had it at the time.
No, America certainly had that power,
right?
Like, had the beginnings of a power grid way before anyone else. Way before.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that my thought is that because the U.S. sort of created this first, they did it in a more an immature way, in the sense of like they just didn't think that they would need a higher voltage.
Yeah.
And then you come over here. So when I think about it over here, I'm like, well, I could just plug. Like if I could just plug my electric car into my garage, and get 220, I don't know how many amps you get here, but
13, usually 13. Yeah. In the UK, it's 13 amps.
But that right there would almost be enough for almost everybody. Well, especially in Europe when you don't drive, 500 miles a week.
But I mean because I don't know. All I know is the way I explain it to people is if you plug it in next to your toaster or your kettle, it's adding about 5 miles an hour.
Okay.
In range. Yeah. So that's 5. So let's say 8 kilometers, something like that.
Yeah.
And then if you use a 7 kilowatt charger like we've got here, then that's about 30 miles. And if you use 22 kilowatts, about 50 miles an hour. Yeah. That's how to step up. But what I don't know is what 110 gives you. So if you plug into a 3-pin socket in, it's got to be really slow.
Barely anything.
Yeah. It's probably 1 or 2 miles an hour range, isn't it? That's
correct.
That's what you're adding.
I mean, it depends on the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So I did a video on this, I don't know, 8 years ago, or so, where I took my Model 3 at the time, and it was still new, and I was trying to answer that question: could you live without getting any high power thing, just a regular 3-pin socket? And during the week, the answer was yes, you could, because you get about maybe 2 miles of range per hour.
Right.
So if you get home and you're home for, I don't know, 12 to 16 hours a day or something like that, it's probably fine. Like that's probably enough for your commute in the US. It's certainly enough for your commute over, in Europe or somewhere else. But 5 miles of range, and then if you plug a Rivian in, it gets, it laughs at you. It's just,
what are you doing?
It's just, this is cute.
Stop wasting my time.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if you're getting 5 miles of range per hour and you get home at if you had, I don't know what a 9 to 5 type job is like over here, but if you get home and you're home for 12 hours, you would be 60 miles of range, 60 miles of range is a lot. I mean, what's that saying that in Europe, 100 miles, so to an American, 100 years seems like a long time. But to a European, 100 miles seems like a long distance. Yeah. It's the reverse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's fine. I think it would work without anything special.
Yes. Yeah. Now that is interesting, because I'd actually never thought of that, because I knew the voltage was 110 in America, but I never made that connection as to how slow it would charge a car.
It's not doable. I mean, it depends on your situation. I'd say, America's a very big country, right? Yeah. So, for some people it'll work, but absolutely you want something more than that. And in fact, most of our our appliances will run off of like a 220 or 240 or something.
Right. Yes.
So, so that's where you're like, you just get one of those and it's fine. But that is something that's a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk for hours, I know, but I'm just trying to get. There's a couple of a thing I've recently written. I recently wrote a thing about all the amazing, ingenious, daring, brave car startups I've seen since I've done this show, mainly in Europe, but Swedish and German and Dutch and French. Brilliant ideas, and they look so exciting. And I went to the launch, and they had the car there, and all the journalists were there talking about it. It's really exciting, and it's going to be amazing. And they've all, without exception, have failed and just bitten the dust. And they've sometimes kind of morphed into a different system, like they've developed really effective solar paneling that they put on big trucks that will run refrigeration. I mean, some really clever stuff, but they've given up on cars. The two exceptions to that, from what I can tell, are Rivian and Lucid. And I don't know, I mean, you're not there anymore, but I'm sure you're very aware of it. You how long did you have your Rivian? For a long time.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was one of the early ones.
Yeah. But they seem to have got over that critical early stage where they need so much investment to be able to start actually producing the cars, You know,
Yeah.
that's what crippled all the ones we saw in Europe. But I mean, do you
Exactly.
think they will survive? Are they in it?
Oh,
for the
no
long
doubt.
run?
No
Right.
doubt. So Rivian and Lucid, very different brands,
Yeah.
right? Lucid has Saudi money, so
Yeah.
just, they cannot go bankrupt unless they decide to not keep funding them.
Yeah.
So there's that. I am surprised Lucid's not in Europe, are they?
No, I mean, I've seen one at
Oh, yeah.
Goodwood. I met
okay.
I met Peter Rawlinson driving in his Lucid. So,
Love it.
yeah, so that,
Yeah.
but no, they're not. There's not. I've not seen one in the wild at all.
It seems, I feel like they would do well.
Yeah,
I don't
they
know.
would.
I mean,
yeah.
Rivian I know has other challenges because trucks are, at least
Yeah.
where I'm at in Europe, are not a thing.
Yeah.
And the SUVs, they're extremely large by European standards. So I don't know. Maybe the R2 will be a good one. But Rivian's at that point where I do think they've cemented themselves as they're here to stay. They're sort of not too big to fail, but if anything, if for whatever reason, everything worked against them and they didn't have any more successes, that Amazon or Apple or somebody would step in and buy them and keep them going. There's no doubt. But they got a $5 billion investment from Volkswagen,
Right?
And now they're licensing their software into a lot of Volkswagens, which is where Volkswagen knows how to make cars. There's no doubt about that. But software is not their strong suit.
They've shown us that.
Unless
it's a cheat device in a diesel engine, and then it's brilliant.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to
put
mention
those people. Put those people on the actual software you use.
Yeah.
So I think Rivian has enough strong partnerships that and they have enough momentum that there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I think they're doing relatively well financially and relatively well with their production numbers, and they're still pre their version of the Model Y. If you think about it,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Like the cheapest Rivian is still very expensive.
Right.
And as amazing as they are, I think they're totally worth all the dollars that they have. But, not everyone's going to be buying a $70,000 to $100,000 vehicle. It's just not practical, right? So your market size is already limited. And then by the time Rivian actually came out with something, there's not a lot in the truck space, right? There's only a few options in the US. But in the SUV space, you do have a lot of competition from, like Mercedes, people that have been making really high-end luxury vehicles since before Rivian was
much longer than anyone else on the planet. Yeah.
Exactly. So the competition there, I think, is pretty stiff. And then now I think I just saw the Range Rover electric one was delayed. But anyway, so when you have legit competition in the space and people are spending $100,000. I would guess that they're likely going to go with the brand that they know and feel like they can trust. So they have some serious headwinds in that space. But when the R2 comes out, I think that they've built up enough brand value.
Yeah. Like
Rivian as a brand, I think is worth a lot. Like RJ Scaringe, the CEO, is like the nicest guy on the planet who, has a PhD in automotive manufacturing. Like the guy, you couldn't cartoon draw a better person to be that guy. Maybe the one thing, if you say he has any faults, is that he's not controversial enough. Yeah. So he's kind of not in the news, like he needs to come out swinging more. But anyways, so I think Rivian's in a really good place, and the whole delivery van thing, that was always overlooked.
Because that's the thing I forget that
yeah. I mean, they got an order and I think Amazon's reduced the size of it, but they still ordered 100,000 of these delivery vans,
Wow.
And they're not cheap to make. And if you go back to San Diego or California, they're all over the place.
Right.
They're everywhere.
Right.
So it's not like they, it's some, theory. No, these are out there. They make a lot of them. So in fact, I think they sell more of their electric vans than Ford sells of its electric vans, which is, that's Ford you're talking about, right? Yeah. So I think Rivian's going to do really well. Obviously the legislative environment, the political environment right now is not in their favor. No. Especially with the tax credits ending. But I think once the R2 really starts to hit the roads early next year or whenever it happens next year, that will be their Model Y. And I guarantee that will, their sales volumes will 5x what they are now. So I'm really excited about them. I love Rivian. I think that, they have a lot of teething issues still, but they're solid, know, and Lucid I find really, really good as well. Like Peter Rawlinson, one of my favorite people in the industry I've ever, and I know he's not there anymore, but like, it's, I think Lucid is the same thing when the Gravity SUV, I think it's finally out or coming out. And then whenever they come out with a bit cheaper of a model,
Yes.
if they do that,
Yeah.
I always,
I don't know,
I've had many, glasses of wine with Peter talking about this going, look, it works now because Mercedes and BMW do not make electric cars at the time. But as soon as the true luxury brands start making electric cars, I'm sorry, buddy. Like I think it's going to be too strong of a headwind for you. Like you're going to have to really differentiate, and it'll be a very niche kind of product. But if you could make something that is like the Gravity SUV, like 500 plus miles of range.
Yes.
And because the people buying it don't care about the cost, right? At that point,
if you're at that stage, yes, the cost doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah. So it was funny, because I mean, and he agreed. He said, their competition wasn't Tesla. Their competition was Mercedes and BMW. And I said, yeah, well, enjoy the lead while you have it, because as soon as they start coming out with them, I think it's going to be a really tough challenge.
Yeah, because Jack has just been. You may. I don't know if you went, but Jack just went to see the new A Class A BMW. Had to sign an NDA. Couldn't take his phone in. They shot the footage. They've still got the footage. We're not allowed to have it until it's released. So I genuinely don't know anything about it. But I said to him, "Well, you're impressed," and he said, "It's just the next step." He said, "You will see this thing, and you'll go, oh my god." The distance between my little Nissan Leaf that's still here, and that is, he said, it's like Model T with a Porsche 911. It's that much of a gap, which is so. I mean, who knows?
No, I mean that's really the phenomenal thing about this whole transition. But you're right. I mean, most on my channel, you can sort of see I got kind of bored reviewing EVs a few years ago, because in the early days, every new EV was
exciting and different.
It was like, oh my God, what is that?
Yeah.
I can't believe they did that. Oh, what about this? And now it's just, next year's version of the Kia.
Yeah. Yes.
And not to bash Kia. I love Kia. I think
brilliant.
they make great, phenomenal. But it's like, I don't need to review the 2026 version of the same car or whatever. It's all sort of just kind of, now it just seems normal, at least.
I mean, I think, but in a sense, that is the best. So there's a very good old friend of mine. His partner has been I think it's fair to say, a fairly wealthy Londoner who has always driven a Range Rover. So from when she was 19, I think her father bought her one, and she's always had a Range Rover. And that's just who she is. And there is a specific type of woman in this country.
Yes.
And they like Range Rovers, and that's fair enough. I'm not, but a Range Rover in the middle of London is more... questionable. Anyway, she has just bought the. I cannot believe she's done it. She came to visit us this weekend. She's got a Kia EV9, the big SUV. She's just obsessed with it. And it's first, so her first, she's gone from a no electric cars to this enormous tank. And what she says is hysterical. Is that she was always like ashamed. She's got a garage and her Range Rover just about fit in it. This thing is too big.
It doesn't fit.
Yeah. She said, I can't believe I've gone to an electric car. It's even bigger.
Yeah.
But it's a 7-seater. I sat no one had sat, it's brand new. No, I sat in the very back row, and she kept sort of shouting, "What's it like back there?" But I mean, it's an amazing car. And she's had it I think 6 weeks, and she's just looked back at her bank statements and seen how much she paid for petrol in a 6-week period, and it's just gone. She said that we are paying for the electricity at nighttime off peak at their house. They're lucky they can charge it off the street in London. But it is, and it's just, I just think it's interesting that it isn't like the first, which you'll have seen this as well. The first sort of few people that bought Teslas or bought Nissan Leafs or Renault Zoes were kind of in. Early adopters, enthusiasts, they would put up with the pain and the hassle and that.
Right.
She's not prepared to do that. And now it's gone to normal people just buy a BYD because it's cheaper.
Right.
And that's why they've got it, and then basically, I don't want to blow her wealth up too much, but she's definitely not poor. People people like her who would normally buy a very high-end Beamer or a Mercedes or a Range Rover. She's now made that change and is obsessed. I mean,
and how is she? Yeah,
she's also going to tell all her mates. Her social circle are going to go, "Oh well, I don't buy petrol anymore, darling.
Yes,
I'm electric now," which is fine.
That British, I can see it already. I love it. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, it's amazing how quickly people become enthusiasts once they experience it for themselves, right?
Yeah.
I love the Kia EV9. I think it's phenomenal.
I mean, it's an extraordinary vehicle. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, whenever we find ourselves back in the U.S. looking for a car, that may be one of the ones that we buy. I mean, that's on there. I mean, in fact, if you're looking at the Rivian R1S versus that, I think it's a compelling, Kia obviously been making cars a lot longer, knows how to do it. I mean, and lately, all of the ones I've seen out of them have been phenomenal.
It's just the way that, that stuff that has taken many decades to finesse, but it's like you open the back and you press the buttons and the seats go flub, 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 and they go flat. There's no sort of, I can remember when we had an estate car and you'd put the seats down and they were still up, and that's just the way that's designed now is just amazing.
Yeah.
The storage, you could move your house with the back of that thing.
Well, I've been talking to my wife about this because now we're here without a car and all the cars that are around us are relatively small. I mean, they're not tiny,
no,
but I'm thinking about it. I'm like, do we need a truck back home? I'm starting to question this whole thing. I'm like, I could just put a rack on top for the surfboards and the bikes. And I mean, you can definitely get it done without it. And we only have 2 kids. So it's not like we have 4 kids where we have to have that, third row
extra
seating.
Space,
So it's look at it. This might be starting, my perspective's changing.
Yeah.
That's part of the whole idea.
Oh my God, you're getting sucked into the crazy socialist world of European.
That's right. I'll tell you what, though, free healthcare. I'm excited about this.
Oh my God.
I mean, free. I have to pay €80 a month or something for Social Security, but whatever. It's basically free.
Yeah. No, it is. That is the most. I mean, it was one of the most terrifying things when I used to work regularly in America. It wasn't terrifying. It was only that I would see my medical insurance that the company had for me. And I'd just go, oh my God. I'd never seen that many figures in one. It's just insane what they had to do. And thank goodness we never called on it. But yes, I know it's not.
It's nice.
Tough thing.
I'm enjoying some of those services here. Yeah.
I mean, Ben, we've talked for over an hour. Always try and do under an hour. It's so much. I just, we've covered all the main points.
Yes. We've solved climate change yet again.
Solved climate change absolutely without any trouble at all. No, but
we'll take our Nobel Prize now. Thanks.
It's been really good to catch up with you. And I mean, I do hope if you are road tripping up into the damp island off the coast of mainland Europe. You'd be very welcome.
No, I'm hoping to come join you guys. When is Farnborough?
That's in October. Oh, brilliant. Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, it's going to be so exciting because also, we've done this reenactment of Junkyard Wars.
Yeah, Zap-Heap.
Yeah, we just finished last week the 2 machines. You will love them. They are extraordinary.
No, that's amazing.
They're all. You'll just look at them going, why the hell have they put those electric motors there? How the hell does this work? Yeah.
So I'm about 90% that I'll be joining you there because I have to get one last. It's my identification card. Basically saying but because UK is not in Europe anymore, I need that. Otherwise, if I try to return to Europe, well, I have to have. There's all this paperwork and So it's so I need that card, but I think it'll be here before then. So I'm about 90% sure.
Oh, that's really
That'd be great.
Excellent. We will see you there.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Ben. Really hope you enjoyed that. It was great fun talking to Ben. What an absolutely amazing dude. Really looking forward to seeing him later this year. Please do tell your friends about the Everything Electric show, Everything Electric Cars or Everything Electric Tech, both on YouTube. Do subscribe to them if you haven't already. Really worth doing so you don't miss the amazing plethora of episodes we've got coming up. And that's it. As always, if you have been, thank you for watching and listening.